you know. Hello. Hello. No.
Look at your hat.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
My name is Steve Haffenden, and I'd like to talk to you about strings. Now, is there anybody here who isn't familiar with JavaScript? Say you only started looking into it in the last 6 months. Anybody? July. There's nobody. Excellent. So this presentation is entirely lost on absolutely everybody in this room. Fantastic. So what I'm going to be doing is going through now a very quick and very high-level look at strings in JavaScript. Now, this is a ball of string. David Flanagan defines a string. David Flanagan is the guy who wrote the definitive guide to JavaScript, 6th edition. I think he wrote the 5th edition as well, but I'm not sure, like 4th to 1. And he says that a string is an immutable ordered sequence of 16-bit values, each of which is typically representing a Unicode character, which is fantastic, but you know, when you're first coming into programming, or if you don't spend a lot of time reading programming jargon, words like immutable and 16-bit and Unicode can be a little bit confusing. So, he also says that strings are JavaScript's type for representing text, which I think is a lot more easy to understand. So, strings. There are many and varied ways in which we can define and use strings. These are all string literals at the top. They're literally strings because they're surrounded by quotes, single quotes, double quotes, and they can contain, well, pretty much anything. So there's text, there's nothing, there's some numbers, there's some operations, a bit of JavaScript. There's some strings with quotation marks in them, which is exciting, and we'll get to that. And then there's some stuff with 16-bit Unicode characters. The interesting thing about that is that the JavaScript, the original JavaScript 3rd edition that most of us work with day to day, only supports 16-bit Unicode characters, not the full set of Unicode characters. So after you get past the 16-bit, which 99% of the time none of us are going to do, you're going to start running into problems and issues. One of those, off the top of my head, is if you were to use the mathematical symbol E, it looks like an E, it actually takes up 17 characters, so it's 2 Unicode parts. So you can have a string of a length 1 that actually returns a length 2.
Whoa.
I know, blew my mind. What we've got here are 2 methods in which we can define a string. There's string literal, where we literally define a string and put it into a variable, and then we can use the string object, which essentially is going to do the same thing. What I'm showing here is the fact that you can push a number into a string object and it will convert it into a string. You can do the same thing with a boolean. You can stick a string in there as well. You know, it's all good. There is a third way, which is to use new string, but we don't use that because it can cause problems. But because this is a basic tool, I'm not going to cover it. Escape sequences, very exciting. In JavaScript, in a string, you can escape certain characters. It's awesome. The way that we do that is with this backslash character up here. A few examples. It's not an exhaustive list, I will admit, but it is a list nonetheless. So the first one, that's just giving us a new line. And the second and third, they're just showing how we can escape quote characters in a quoted string. So the first one, we're using single quote characters and we're escaping them. In the second one, we're using double quote characters and we're escaping them. In JavaScript, I tend to use single quote characters simply because I do a lot of manipulation with HTML, which I use double quote characters in, and it saves me having to do a lot of escaping. If you want to escape the escape character, which is backslash, you use backslash. So double escape, this is just escaping a backslash. And then we've got character return and the horizontal tab, very exciting. And this is in action. Generally speaking, you're not going to be using escape sequences that much. But if you wanted to console log something that had 3 lines, then you'd be using the slash new line escape sequence in order to do that. Woo-hoo. Moving on. So there's a bunch of manipulation stuff that we can do with strings. This, again, is a non-exhaustive list of some of the stuff that you can do, some of the more useful stuff. The stuff at the top just shows how we can concatenate strings. So the most common method is to use the overloaded plus operator. What that's going to do, that first variable, it's going to return a string, which is, this is one concatenation method separated mainly by spaces, except I can see in the last one, probably not. Pretty sure check this more. The second way, and some people hold that this is more performant, it certainly tends to be on some of the older browsers like IE6, is to take your individual components of string into an array and then join them. The other nice advantage of using this method is if you're looping through and adding stuff to create a sentence, then you don't need to worry about the one at the end because join will only join in between. Handy. The third one is to use the string concat method, which is pretty much the same as this first method, with the exception that it will also convert various things to strings on the way. Very nice, excellent, lovely. Then there are a whole bunch of other exciting and fun things that we can do. We can return the length of a string. Now we're using this another way variable up here, and that's going to return 11. It's the number of characters in the string. Then we've got the char out, which is going to return the character that we give the index for, so it's 0 based. So from another way, character 0 is A, capital A. Then we have substring. Substring returns a substring of the full string. So it takes one argument and an optional second argument. The first argument is where you want to start. If you specify a second option, then that's going to be where you want to end. If you don't specify a second option, it's just going to read it to the end. If you supply a negative value in there, then it's going to treat that value as 0, I think. And if you were to do it the other way around, so if you were to put 7, 0 instead of 0, 7, then it's just going to go done and change it. Below that, we've got slice. Slice is very interesting because it's almost identical to substring. There's one also that I haven't mentioned here, which is substrip without the E, and that again is very similar to substring. The difference with slice is it will take a negative value, and the negative value will offset from the back of the array. So as you can see here, we're slicing from 4 to -4, which is giving us her. So taking out the way in space and those 3 letters gives you her. That's just slice. Index of, it will give you the first index of the character or character sequence that you supply. So we're looking for W. The first instance of W is at 8 there, which is nice. Last index of does the same thing from the back of the string. So it will give you the last index of something. So if there are lots of the same letter, it will give you the last one in that sequence. Great. Split. Splits a string. It takes a string, give it a character, it will return an array of those individual characters. If you don't supply a value, it will just return the string. Nice. Replace will take characters, it will take regular expressions. I'm not going to cover those because they're really quite complicated and I'd probably stuff it up royally. So replace, yeah, we'll take a string, we'll take a regular expression, it will replace what you've got with whatever you want to put in there. To uppercase, come on, do you really need me to explain that? We'll return something all uppercase to lowercase, all lowercase. It's awesome, it's fantastic. What I would recommend that you do, if you don't know this stuff, which we all know that you do, so why am I still even talking, is to check out some of these websites, specifically the Mozilla MDM JavaScript stuff. It's absolutely fantastic. JavaScript Implementation Guide is a very useful, if thick book. But it's got this JavaScript good books, good parts, lovely. And if you really were a beginner, which again you're not, Eloquent JavaScript is a really basic introduction into the language and how you work with it. I hope you found this entirely useful, but probably not because you know everything already. Thank you very much.